dari Komplek Balai Budaya Minomartani Ngaglik Salemba. Inilah Radio BBM, jaringan radio komunitas Yogyakarta.
Radio Komunitas Balai Budaya Minomartani. Radio Budaya, Radio Warga, Radio Kita Bersama.
Selamat sore warga budaya and welcome to Indonesia Me. Today is a very special and also a sentimental program because it's the very last program for Indonesia Me. That's right, it has been 10 weeks today, 10 weeks of my internship, 10 weeks of being in Jogja. And it has been such a tremendous pleasure. Trust me, it has been absolutely amazing to be here. Amazing to do the radio. It has been an incredible experience. And today it is the very last program of Indonesia Me. So what I've decided to do for this program is to create a bit of a look back. So I've picked some pieces from all the previous 9 episodes or 9 programs. And today we'll play a couple of minutes, 3 to 4 minutes from each episode to look back at all the programs, the people that I've interviewed, that we've had in the studio, the topics we've discussed, the stories and experiences that have been shared. So I'm really looking forward to share that with you. And what I want to do is to walk you through the 9 topics beforehand so that you know what's coming. And then we'll just play the pieces from the 9 episodes in one go without sort of interrupting them along the way. First, we started off Indonesia Me with Johan and Dita, who shared their perspective on tourism in Indonesia. The second program was also with Johan and Dita on peribahasa, where we talk about Indonesian sayings and what that means for the culture. Third episode I do by myself on Pancasila. And the fourth episode is with Johan and Adisti on food tasting, where we actually where we collected a lot of different Indonesian traditional snacks. We had them in the studio, and then we taste them, we comment on them, while we also just discuss food and culture in general. The fifth episode, or the fifth program, I did with Habiba and Zia, where we did that on gamelan and wayang. Wayang Kulit, which is the shadow puppet show, and gamelan is a music genre that both Habiba and Zia play. The 6th episode is with Nikita on Urban Heat Island. And on sustainability is maybe a word that is more familiar. Very interesting program as well. The 7th program I did was with Sarah Lu on Islam and culturalization of religion, where we discuss her current research in Indonesia on this topic. The 8th episode is with Wim, who is a Dutch guy I met actually during my first week here, and he has now lived in Indonesia for 18 years. And we talk about sort of his integration, cultural differences, and also just his Dutch community he has here and what that means to him. And then the 9th and the last episode I did, which was obviously last week, is with Medina and Wawa on festivals as authentic cultural tourism, where we, among other things, talk about the Jenang Festival in Solo. So please super enjoy. I hope you're going to enjoy the look back, and I think it's a nice catch up of the previous episode. If you want to listen to the full programs, obviously you can do that, and you can do it on YouTube at our channel Radio BBM FM. But here is a snapshot of each. So please enjoy.
So in the discussion of tourism, what I'm noticing is the sense of community service. Serving the community comes up several times. So there seems to be a link between advertising or promoting tourism and supporting the community. So maybe you can comment a bit on how these things are linked in your opinion.
I'm not an expert on that, but
fair enough.
I think when you take care of a community, you will kind of automatically promote that community. So if we want to raise awareness of that community, for example, we use Instagram right now, so we create an Instagram account. So I think like that's a way of promoting, even though we're not like really promoting that. But I think that's like a way to promote your community. And as for the community service, I think tourism do reduce the Indonesia's poverty level. So I think the tourism, like the tourist spot, the tourism spot will, how do you say it? Will bring the community around the area into like the greater goods. For what do the students from elementary to undergraduate usually do to promote Indonesian culture? Usually, the teacher will ask the student to do some assignments about promoting Indonesia, and they need to put it up in the social media. So I think that's a way to promote Indonesian culture in the school settings.
Here comes the first one, and my apologies up front for any mispronunciations. Kepala bisa panas, tapi hati harus dingin.
Yes.
And the English translation, as far as I understand, is the head can be heated, but the heart should be cool.
Yes.
Can you give a bit of explanation and some context to that, Dita?
Oh, so here's the context. So if there's two people or some people with some people and they are just get angry with some things, so we say it like kepala boleh panas. It mean like our head can be angry, or we
Our
can
mind can explode.
Yes, our head can be explode. But
Yeah.
yes, our heart need to be cold. So
Okay.
although in these discussions we are getting angry, but we should remember that we should be nice.
Yeah.
don't to explode it. So it's like the bombs. So don't make the bombs explode. Because it will ruin everything. It will ruin the discussion. So we need to calm down.
It's interesting because if I think about it, I would also say that if I'm not forgetting its shell, in my mind, that seems almost more okay because you don't need the shell anymore. So it's like maybe sometimes you need to forget the shell to move on. That's a bit what I sometimes think as well. And then not forgetting your roots, that to me seems more strong. Yeah. Because because roots help you grow. But keeping in your shell doesn't help you grow. So for me, that was a bit what I thought when you just mentioned the Javanese version with the tree, that is actually to me maybe resonate a bit more with me because the roots help you grow. Even if you're on top of the tree, you need the roots. You cannot forget. So that's actually very interesting. Meaning. Yeah. The higher a tree, the wind blows harder.
Yes.
And in the beginning, when I read this one, I thought, maybe this is a bit similar to the rice situation. But then when I started interpreting and reading a bit more about it, and that's also why I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on it, it seemed like it was actually about something quite different. So I'm curious to hear how you would usually use this one.
It's totally different from the rice. In this saying, it's basically mean that when you are when you're leveling up, or when you become like this powerful person, or this smart person, or this successful person, the win, which are the problems, just keep hitting you harder and harder and more often. And I think that's like a reminder when we're maybe like down or something. Just remind ourselves that, the higher the tree, the harder the wind will blows.
Yes, it's like remember. So sometimes we look to others who is more successful than us. Like why is doesn't fair she or he lives a better life than me? But we should know that he or she already solved a lot of problems and already and of course he or she have a bigger problems.
I think it's a very beautiful reminder actually, to not think that this person that is seemingly above me in one way or another, their life must be perfect, to not have that. And as you're explaining it now, what I'm thinking is a bit the social media era where so often we look at other people and we think, that is exact. Like, if I could have your life, I wouldn't miss anything. And then maybe you could use this saying to say, the more the success or the more wealth or power, the bigger the problem. So they come along.
It's like as an example, like if there is an artist, if he or she doesn't really famous, like no one cares about what she or he did. But if he or she being more famous, like every little act or every little things that she or he did, it will be like a big problems. Or something like that. So
I think when you become more popular, people just start scrutinizing you.
So it's also a bit what I understand from you to recognize people's challenges to get where they are. To sort of say, they have come to this stage by having all of these challenges along the way. That's actually very beautiful. That's a good acknowledgement, and I think a very healthy acknowledgement of people's struggles to get there. Today's broadcast is about Pancasila, which is the philosophical basis of an independent Indonesia. So let's dive into it. What is Pancasila? Well, Pancasila consists of two words, Pancha, which means 5, and Sila, which means principles. The words come from Sanskrit, which to my knowledge is the sacred language of Hinduism and Buddhism. The 5 principles, so Pancasila, were publicly announced for the first time on June 1st in 1945 by Sukarno, who was the first Indonesian president who during the occupation of Indonesia was an independence activist. So let's dive into the 5 principles which constitute Pancasila. Well, the first one is translated into the belief in the one and only God. To my understanding, this is the most debated principle, suggesting that it supports only one religion, and that is, or it supports not only one religion, but that supports religions which only believe in one God. So I've been asking about this, and I've been curious to hear if that is even maybe the correct translation, because sometimes we translate a language and we don't understand what the implication of that translation. And what I've found out, what again people in my network have told me, is that this might not be the best translation. Maybe this translation doesn't serve the principle. And another understanding, or sort of a better translation, is to view this principle as a token of tolerance, actually respecting the many different religions and beliefs in Indonesia, so that it's not limited to beliefs and religions that worship only one God. The third principle is translated into the unity of Indonesia, which refers to the many kingdoms as one nation. Again, we're talking about a nation with multiple cultures, multiple languages, multiple beliefs. And this principle emphasizes that with tolerance and with respect, all the kingdoms can be united into one nation. I find that very beautiful.
Today's broadcast is about exploring culture through food, a topic that I practice every single day, and definitely a topic that I'm super excited to share with you. And for today's broadcast, we have gone out and collected a variety of Indonesian snacks, some a bit more modern and some a bit more traditional. And we will taste them here in the studio while discussing the different snacks, and we'll also be discussing topics on food in general and culture. I want to ask you, Adisti, what is the snack that if you would go abroad, what is the Indonesian snack you would always bring with you?
Actually, I have no idea because I love a lot of snacks.
Okay.
But maybe I will bring the snacks that they have crisp on it, like this one.
Like the one we're gonna have.
Yeah.
So things that are crispy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because in another country, maybe they don't have this snack.
Yeah.
So I will bring the snack that they only have in Indonesia.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I definitely recognize that there are a lot of crisps here.
Yeah.
Definitely. Obviously, I haven't been in every single country, obviously, but from what I've seen, there are a lot of crispy opportunities here. So let's try it. This is good.
Okay.
It's very light. It almost doesn't feel fried.
Wow.
It almost cheats you.
Totally.
It almost tastes as if it's a healthy little breakfast snack. And then it's just a fried process here.
One time I ate a full bag of rice crackers and then my throat hurts for like a week. And I can't eat anything except for porridge and just not clean water, just water, plain old water.
I can imagine. Oh, but they're very good. And then they have a bit of a sticky texture with the honey.
Yeah, totally.
That's nice. And how would you eat these, or when would you eat these?
When watching YouTube or
Oh, yeah. When watching YouTube.
So we're just snacking it away.
yeah.
Okay. So these won't be served next to a dish like krupuk.
When you don't put the honey on top and it's more savory, you can put it aside of the rice or aside of the dish, or like soup or soda again.
Yeah.
Or even pecel.
Pechel, okay. Okay, yeah, I like these. And Johan, I'm curious, what is your snack that you would bring with you abroad?
Just snack.
Or food, but something that you can pack in a suitcase.
Oh,
So maybe not soto.
I'll bring sambal.
Sambal.
Because I love eating spicy food. But I don't think another country makes sambal as much as Indonesian would.
No.
So
Fair
I think
enough.
I would bring the
You would bring sambal.
the instant version of it.
Okay. The what version?
The instant version.
The
Usually
instant version.
it comes on a jar
Okay.
or a sachet.
Yeah.
So it's more easier.
Yeah. And are there a specific type of sambal that you really go for?
Ooh, nice questions.
Sambal terasi.
Yeah.
What I always bring with me, and this is to all my fellow Danes out there, they will understand me, and to everyone else, it's going to sound very strange. It's rye bread. What that is that it's dark, completely brown bread that is made out of grains. And that is something that we very much struggle to find outside of the Danish borders. And my suitcase is always packed when I leave Denmark with rye bread. It's called rugbrød in Danish. My parents will freeze it down so that I can bring it and freeze it at home in the Netherlands so that I have it for the next trip. That is something that also when my parents come and visit me, when my friends visit me, they're like, "Are you almost out of rugbrød?" And I'm like, "Yes." Then they stack up my freezer.
Dalang is the puppet master.
Yeah.
So it's the one who plays
Play
out
the
the,
puppet.
wayang, which is the
Like,
puppet show, and then gamelan is played for that.
Yeah. And see, that time, that is my first time touching gamelan.
Yeah.
Wow. Even though I do know how to play, just
Yeah.
enjoy it.
And how
Yeah,
old
yeah,
were
yeah.
you then? How old were you then?
10, maybe 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of touching gamelan, I noticed the very first week I was here, I was introduced to BBM, and we went upstairs where all the gamelan instruments are.
Yeah.
And I noticed something that I'm very curious to ask, and that is that you cannot step over the gamelan. I noticed because I was almost doing it, and then I thought something seems like everyone else is walking around. It's not because people don't know how to walk over. There must be something. So I actually haven't got to ask that to anyone yet. Why? What is that? Why do you need to walk around the gamelan instruments?
Oh, actually, there is no like really rules for that, but I think it's like the way how we can appreciate that instrument, because instrument is first the instrument is expensive, of course, from like what is that, there is gamelan from like gold or silver or something like that. And the age of the instrument, it's really old, it's old, so maybe that's how we appreciate the instruments.
Okay. I also thought, because how I understand gamelan is that it was also very much used and is still used for religious ceremonies.
Religious ceremonies.
So I also thought maybe it was linked to that, to
I
not
think
disrespect the instrument.
Yeah, because it
And what it represents, of course, and speaking of wayang, so wayang being the puppet show. I've been curious how that is connected. So why is or how is gamelan and wayang connected to each other? So the puppet show and the gamelan music.
Actually, I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not sure is it answer your question or not. But like that I mentioned before, like wayang kulit and gamelan as the really thing that to introduce Islam religion in Indonesia. I think since that time, wayang kulit and wayang and gamelan has like correlation. Until now. And until now, wayang kulit like cultural performance that actually accompanied by the gamelan, like live gamelan. So the people who play gamelan or penabuh, we call it penabuh, will suit the rhythm, the song, or the how they play gamelan. Real based on the wayang kulit and the dalang. Because like wayang is like a puppet theater. Like when the scene of war, usually more hectic. More hectic.
I
more
noticed.
Upbeat gamelan. Something like that.
So you would never have wayang kulit with any other music than gamelan.
No.
Because actually gamelan is the most important thing of wayang kulit. Because if there is no gamelan, then how to make wayang interesting?
Let's dive right into it, because Urban Heat Island was a new term to me, and I'm sure it's a new term to so many more people. So Nikita, please go ahead and explain to us what is Urban Heat and when did you start learning about this?
I hope it's understandable for you, but if you need more explanation, I could go into that. So basically, Urban Heat Island is a phenomena where an area have a higher temperature than surrounding area because of the temperature, because of that surface, like building, like the surface covered by asphalt, less vegetation, something like that.
And speaking of your friends, of the ones following your Instagram, your YouTube, so your readers, your listeners, I've noticed an interesting thing is that you refer to them and you address them as superheroes. And I'm curious to hear why that is. How did you come up with it?
Actually, our audience, our target is young generation. And young generation would be run the world in the future. And if they don't do something in the future, we couldn't save the earth. People saving something, we can call it as superheroes. So I also engage people and emphasize people that they are superhero, because we need to be together to save something.
Definitely.
About sustainability. So I always say salam superhero at the end of our event. Just to make sure that you are amazing. You are something. You can make something for this earth.
No, I love it. I really love it, because I think so often when you talk about sustainability, and have talked a lot about this with friends as well, I think it comes with such shame sometimes, or such guilt, as if you're not doing enough, you should be guilty. And I'm not, and I guess I understand a bit where that comes from. It is because people are passionate about wanting to do something better. But I think whenever something is connected a lot to shame and guilt, it generates a lot of negative feelings. So if people want to foster sustainable actions, what works really well, in my opinion, is to praise people, to believe in people, but not the other way around, to say, oh, you're so bad for not doing it correctly, you're so bad for not making all the right choices. Well, we don't always know what the right choices are.
As the alternative of AC, something like that.
Okay. So how I understand it from you is that you're saying, well, before we ask people to turn the AC off, we need to be sure that we've cooled the city down.
We need to know about the alternative, because when we just say to people, hey, turn off the AC, and we don't provide the alternative. So that's
difficult. That's very difficult, and I really like that you say that, because I think so often we know what's bad, but then we don't know the alternative, and that makes us not switch. So just to give a bit context to the ones listening, we're currently sitting at a little humble cafe in Indomarge and doing the podcast from here. So I hope the sound will be fine, and I hope there won't be too many interfering noises. So, Sarah, why don't you start off by telling us about your current research and how it has brought you to Indonesia?
Right, so I'm currently a master's student at the University of Chicago. I'm doing a master's in the social sciences program with an anthropology concentration, and I'm working on my thesis right now. So my thesis focuses on Nahdlatul Ulama's global reach in promoting humanitarian Islam abroad. So I've been focusing on a few of the NGOs by NU in the US, namely Lib for All and Beta Rahma, that were started in the early 2000s by several NU members and a North Carolina native, Holland Taylor. So while I was in the US, I was looking at a partnership between NU and a African American Muslim community called the Imam Barizuddin Muhammad Community, or IWDM for short, and NU. So I've done part of the field work while in the US at some of the community mosques of IWDM, as well as with some of the conveners and imams of the IWDM community. And here in Indonesia, I've been going around meeting leaders and members of NU, as well as other more local sites like mosques and pondok pesantren in Indonesia.
Okay.
I found that during my time there was this concern among a lot of the researchers and policymakers on this phenomenon called the Arabization of Islam, or what they would call Arabisasi in Indonesia. And what this means, to put it in a very kind of crude way, it's Saudi Arabia's petrodollars financing mosques, schools, and other buildings all over the world. And that has been evident in Indonesia as well. So the concern stemmed from a fear that this influence also meant an export of a certain strand of, say, Salafi Wahhabi Islam from Saudi Arabia, and that was often conflated with this idea of radicalization or terrorism, that on the one hand, many were concerned about, say, like security concerns, but on the other hand, also many were afraid that this more conservative or puritanical strand of Islam would challenge the dominant way in which Islam has been practiced in Indonesia, one that has been more culturalized to take into account local influences, what they would call perhaps Islam Nusantara or archipelagic Islam. One of the efforts that they have.
And Sarah, can you sort of just in your own words explain why do you think it's so important to have interreligious tolerance? Why is it important to promote that? So either to you, or why do you think it's important to Indonesia?
I think we can think of the worst case scenario, or what happens as an opposite or a counter to that, which is a lot of what I think NU is trying to fight against. Be it, say, the extreme case being, say, terrorism or exclusivism, and that touches all levels of our lives, be it in terms of, say, the social fabric of society or our politics, having very exclusivist politics. We see that, I mean, in Europe, we see that in America, the rise of, say, right-wing parties that are promoting a lot of a perhaps so-called nationalist agenda with exclusivist rhetoric. I think that does touch on the lives of people in general, and because it permeates so many levels of our lives, it's important to look for ways to get to this state of harmony, even if it's always a work in progress.
I can a very nice example. I was here maybe 1 year, and we had in the place where we live, we had a wedding party, and then you get an invitation for a wedding party, and it's starting 10 o'clock. At 9:30, I say to my wife, "Hey, you do eens even washing, do Monday, go the shower. We have to go." 10 o'clock. She say, "Relax." So no, 10 is 10. We go there 10 o'clock. I was so embarrassed. Even the people who married were not there yet.
We're not there yet. No.
now we make an appointment. I have also many Dutch friends here.
Yeah.
If we go there on to a party or to the house,
yeah,
then 10 o'clock is 10 o'clock. If we go to my wife's family,
10 is not 10.
I follow you.
Yeah,
Sometimes say 8 o'clock, we go 10 o'clock.
I really resonate with that. It's the same with Turkish time. It's also like that. A wedding at 4 means 5 earliest.
Yeah, that's a little bit. Now it's better. And that was in the beginning very hard for me to understand.
Yeah.
You can also learn a lot from here on Indonesia. Sorry, I had a friend in Holland. He married also with an Indonesian girl from Jogja. She was a little bit shy in the beginning. She lived already a long time in Holland.
Yeah.
But he said, visit my brother-in-law one time.
Okay.
But she was very afraid to go there. Finally, she go there.
Yeah.
It was 10 minutes for 6. That man, a little bit far, but okay. He opened the door. He said, sorry, can you come back later? We're eating.
Oh.
To Indonesia.
No.
Indonesian people, if they have nothing, they still share with you. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Even if they have a banana pizza, they share.
Yeah. Don't have with people that have stayed in the same place. So I'm really curious to hear from you, Wim, what it gives you to have this Dutch community here.
I think it's because you can speak your own language.
Yeah.
And so you also a small French community. They're sitting also together.
Yeah.
You got some people coming here sometimes, but then they're sitting with a group from some 8, 9 Dutch people.
Yeah.
1 or 2 English coming.
Yeah.
And we try. But the one speak better English than the other one.
Yeah.
But we start to in English.
Yeah.
And then you ask me about in Dutch. And I know you are English. And we start in Dutch. And we start completely weer in Dutch.
Yeah.
And they meant from English.
Starts from English, but it goes into Dutch. Yeah.
Yeah, you can speak your own language. I think you speak good English. But I think if you want to make an expression of a thing, if you can do it in your own language, it's always better than in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's tough. Yeah, you see it in the past in Holland. We have from Turkey many people who work in Holland.
Yeah.
They not all live together, but they want to come together.
Yeah.
People from Morocco, from everybody.
Definitely.
And that's here. Here I want the same.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting on the table yesterday, we're sitting here with 12 Dutch people on the big bar there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, Wim, that you're saying it, because I think Turkish people grouping and Moroccan people grouping is in the political scene viewed as a massive issue. I think both in the Netherlands and in Denmark.
Always. Yeah.
It's viewed as something that is unique to Turkish, unique to Moroccan. And the more I travel, the more I realize that is not true. Even in New York, you have Italian communities, German communities, Dutch communities. Here,
Singapore, Little India.
Exactly.
It's everywhere.
Definitely. It's so interesting to hear
the Chinese areas in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, because it is a sense of shared experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. And for sure, you can imagine if there's 10, you start with 10 Dutch people somewhere, of Dutch people, whatever, Chinese people. Okay, then one think, okay, I make a small restaurant for Chinese people.
Yes.
You go, then, there's a Chinese restaurant. And then, you go, and I understand that before we always saying in Holland at that time, the people have to not live all together. One have to live there, one have to live there. Then it's better for they learn better Dutch, blah,
the
blah,
integration.
Blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so you've joined once. You joined last year, and you saw it from the mayor's social media, which is an interesting story. Why do you find that Festival Jenang is important to talk about?
So the first is because it's to celebrate the anniversary of Solo, right?
Yeah.
And it's how to say that? It's like me personally, I don't know how old Solo was until I find this.
Yeah.
There's a celebration for Solo anniversary 278. Maybe if there's no festival, something like this kind of festival, I might still don't know how old.
That's a good point.
That city.
Yeah. And why is that important to you? So knowing how old your city is, knowing a bit more about sort of the cultural heritage of your city, why is that personally important to you? What does that give you?
Me personally, I think it's nice to get to know yourself, including your city, right?
Yeah.
So when you're outside, it's like your city is yourself, you're part of yourself, and it's just for me, it's from like get to know yourself.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Okay. And then I'm very curious to hear from you, Wawa, because prior to the interview, we were talking about you're from Jakarta, and Jakarta is in my understanding, what we talked about, it's a different city in the way that it's very industrial, it's very busy. People often go to Jakarta for work or building a career. So you were mentioning that some of these a bit more traditional elements is not something you have been brought up with a lot.
Yes.
So how do you resonate with when Medina says, well, part of the heritage, part of the city is also my identity? How do you see that?
I feel so sad because I feel like my city doesn't have the cultural things that Medina city has, like the Solo. Like when I go to Solo, I really like that they provide all the cultural stuff to the public in a sense that people can just go there and learn something out of it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, when you're in Jakarta, you just see like the city, the offices, and the everything, the fast-paced living. That's all what you get to see in Jakarta. But they do celebrate the anniversary of the city as well. And to say that the Jenang festivals, that's really important to Medina because she gets to know her culture, her city. That made me sad because like whenever Jakarta celebrate that festival, like kind of festival, like I don't really care, like okay, Jakarta, you're very old, and then what? Then what? Like it doesn't matter to me. But I think getting to know the Japanese culture in the sense of living in the Java is really important for me personally because like even though I'm not from Java, like I'm from Jakarta, but I'm not from Jogja or Solo, but getting to know their culture is really important for me as well because it makes me feel closer to the Indonesian culture.
Okay. How do you see that? How would you guide? Let me ask like this as a last question. How do we guide tourists coming to Indonesia to really emerge in these local practices and experiences? Because I think so many people want to, but don't always know where to start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a very big homework
for us.
Very big homework, for you or for me.
For us.
I try to reflect that when I was in Taiwan, I also lost. I mean, I've been there for like a month, but I don't know where to go. If there's any tourist attraction in Taiwan, where should I go? How should I go there?
Yeah.
And the thing that I learned there is get closer to the locals, and they will tell you
definitely.
Yeah, tell you that you should go here, you should go there, but not everyone knows that, right?
Terima kasih warga budaya for listening and for being curious and for sharing this look back moment with me. It has been such a pleasure and an honor to explore Indonesia and Indonesian cultures in plural through this program, Indonesia Me, where I've got to speak with so many interesting people on topics that I think I wouldn't have been able to explore if it wasn't through this medium. So it has been, as I said, such a pleasure. I want to sincerely thank the BBM community and my BBM colleagues for helping me and guiding me and inspiring me to do this radio, and for making it a lot of fun. Most of all, it has been so much fun to be in the studio with them. For one last time, warga budaya, I want to wish you a great night and a great weekend, and I hope to speak to you again someday. But for now, dan sampai jumpa di siaran berikutnya. Bye-bye.
Dari Komplek Balai Budaya Minomartani, Ngaglik, Lembang, inilah Radio BBM. Jaringan Radio Komunitas Yogyakarta.